to Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning.
And welcome into the Monday edition of Cody Talks NFL. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you're ready for Thanksgiving on Thursday. Eat a bunch of food. I know I am. It's one of my favorite holidays, especially because you get to just enjoy the day with friends or family or a combination of both, and just sit there and watch some football all day. This will probably be a quick episode. I'm not sure. My the landscape part of the NFL for the playoff picture prediction might be a little bit longer than normal. Like I've talked about, every 8 weeks I wanted to update as far as the playoff picture and everything. I decided this time around I felt like it was pointless to do an update on where I stand on the awards right now, because everything kind of stands the same, and we all know these next 5 weeks will determine who ends up winning most of those awards. So how this is going to work out for you guys today, I'm going to talk about tonight's Monday night game, give a quick preview on that. And then I'm going to go through the current playoff standings and the state of each conference. We'll talk about all 32 teams, where I feel about them right now. And then I'll give a prediction on the Thursday games, but I actually might end up basically doing that one, because I'm going to do a prediction on how I think the playoffs are going to end out in the next 5 weeks. I'm going to go ahead and get into this. Tonight, Baltimore is out in LA to face the Rams. As far as the injury report on the Ravens front, Michael Pierce is doubtful with an ankle injury, and then Chris Moore and Ben Powers are both questionable with thumb injuries. On the Rams front, Rob Havenstein is out with a knee injury. Darius Williams is out with an ankle injury, and then Triz Patrick is questionable with an illness. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I think because it's in LA, and LA has to continue to pile on wins to stay within a game of the wild card positioning, I do expect LA to come out and make this a really tight, close game. I think it's going to be a game where they're going to try to rely on Todd Gurley as much as they can to keep Lamar Jackson and that offense off the field. I think Lamar Jackson will have success running the ball, but it's going to be a lot tougher in this matchup because the Rams defense has actually played pretty well over the past few weeks. It'll be interesting to see how they utilize Jalen Ramsey, see if they maybe lock Jalen Ramsey on like a Mark Andrews, or if they're going to try to put him on the speedster and Marquise Brown. I do think it's going to be close to the end, but I'm going to pick the Ravens, because the Ravens are obviously one of the biggest threats in the league right now, and the Rams have been very inconsistent, especially on the offense. I just think the Rams will make it close just because they have a lot to fight for right now. So I am going to take the Ravens, though. I think they find a way to win. I think they end up winning by like 4 points. I could see it being like a 28-24 type win for the Ravens tonight. Now I'm going to go in, and what I'm going to do first for you guys is I'm going to talk about the divisions, and then I'll actually go ahead and go into the current playoff picture and then give my predictions. So I'm going to start on the AFC side. I'm going to start with the divisions as far as where everybody stands right now. In the AFC East, the Patriots are first. They're sitting at a 10-1 record. They should more likely win the division. They have a 2-game lead on the Patriots right now. Their offense isn't playing the best ball right now. I definitely think they are a beatable team, but even though they are a beatable team, the teams are still struggling to find ways to win, even though the games have been pretty close. Their defense and special teams is playing out of their minds right now and helping the Patriots find ways to win. But if they don't get that offensive going, I do wonder how far they will be able to go into the playoffs. Sitting second in the AFC East is the Buffalo Bills. They have an 8-3 record. They are basically right now in control of their playoff fate. As long as they can keep on stacking up wins, they'll be able to at least clinch the wild card. Of course, they're going to hope the Patriots will start to drop a couple games, so maybe they have a chance to win the AFC East. Bills were a team I predicted to go to the playoffs, and I still think they're going to end up being the wild card team. As of right now, though, I'm going to go through each game by game, and who knows, maybe they find a way to either fall out or win the AFC East. The Jets are sitting at a 4-7 record. They are actually looking a lot better over the past few weeks. Sam Darnold is playing a lot better, playing at a higher level. Their defense is actually pretty good against the run, but they're a team that has the talent on both sides of the ball to beat up on bad teams, beat the mediocre teams. They'll probably still struggle with the good teams throughout the year. They'll probably finish with, I could see them finishing with a 6-10 type of record to finish the season. As far as the Dolphins are now in last place. They're sitting at a 2-9 record. They're just kind of they're going back to who they were after that little 2-game winning streak they had this season. They're probably going to lose the majority of the games. They're probably going to be like a 2-14 or a 3-13 type team and be picking within the top 5. Now, looking at the state of the AFC North, the Ravens are currently sitting at top. They're 8-2. Even if they lose this game, they're still going to be sitting on top of the AFC North. Steelers are sitting at a 6-5 record. Oh, and really quick though on the Ravens, I think this is the Ravens division. I think it's a matter of time before they clinch the division, and their main focus is getting that first round bye and potentially home field advantage through the playoffs. Totally expect the Ravens to be winning the North in the coming weeks. The Steelers are sitting at a 6-5 record, barely squeezed out a win yesterday against the Bengals. They're just a team that even with them benching Mason Rudolph or Duck Hodges, I still see them struggling a lot on their offense to move the ball. They got a great defense, which can help them stay in games and win games, but I just think that offense is going to end up being a detriment to the team, and they're probably going to find themselves looking outside the playoff picture. I could see them finishing 500, though. I could see them being like an 8-8 type team. And then the Browns, they're sitting at a 5-6 record. They're kind of getting on a roll right now because they are taking advantage of the weaker schedule that they have in the second half. Sitting at a 5-6 record. They got looks like the offense is kind of somewhat coming together. They still need to kind of put some things together. They still were out of a little sync so far in the last couple of weeks, but they have a shot at the playoffs. So I think they're definitely a team that should get to at least 500, 8-8, with especially with their second half. I can see them going like 9-7. Like I said, once I get to the playoff teams, I'm gonna do a little predicting on how this will all go. Now, looking at the state of the AFC South, Texans are currently on top of the division. They are sitting at a 7-4 record. They're definitely, I could see them winning the division, trying to make a push for a playoff first round bye. Colts are sitting at a 6-5 record. They're also a team I could see winning this division and maybe sneaking in as a wild card. They just got to keep on having to deal with injuries, so that's always going to be a hard thing to overcome. But I do trust that coaching staff to find a way to get it done. And then the Titans are sitting at a 6-5 record. They're bouncing back since Ryan Tannehill has been named the starter. They're stacking up wins, putting themselves in position. I can't argue that they're definitely in position to win the AFC South as well. They got the Texans twice towards the end of the season, so they can kind of control their own fate. They're definitely a threat to make the wild card as well too. And then the Jaguars, they're sitting at a 4-7 record. I don't have any expectations for them to have a strong finish to the season. They're probably going to be like a 5-11, 6-10 type of team. And then looking at the AFC West, the Chiefs are currently sitting at a 7-4 record. I totally, even though they only got a 1-game lead over the Raiders right now, who they face on Sunday, I totally expect the Chiefs to win this division. They should win the division. They could basically win the division by winning this game on Sunday. I know technically they won it, but they would have a 2-game lead over the Raiders and the sweep over the Raiders on the season. So they win this game, they more than likely should win the AFC West. I totally expect them to do that, and they'll probably be trying to make that push for a first-round bye as well. Raiders are sitting at a 6-5 record. Definitely was a surprise that they're even sitting over 500 at this time. They have a shot to make the playoffs. But I still go on that stance I said, on my halfway point of the year, where I think they're a fun team to watch. They got some pieces across the board on the roster, but they still need some upgrades in certain areas. I still think they're a year or two away from making a deep playoff run. The Chargers sitting at 4-7. Everything that could go wrong went wrong this season. Probably the last year we'll see Phil Rivers in a Chargers uniform, so enjoy that. For any Chargers fans out there, for the little ones that we do have in this NFL, fan base. But yeah, Chargers, maybe they could be a team because they might be getting Derwin James back here in a couple weeks. They could be a team that like plays like spoiler alert. They could ruin some team seasons. But I don't have any expectations for them to go on any type of run for the playoffs. They'll probably finish like a 7. I could see them finishing as high as 7-9 for this season though. Broncos sitting at 3-8. Yeah, their season's a lost cause. I think they're going to end up switching over to Drew Lock, who I really don't believe in as well. So they're probably going to continue to lose most of their games to end of the season. They're probably going to be like 8-4-12, maybe 8-5-11 type of team. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the AFC playoff picture really quick, and then I'm going to go kind of give some predictions on these teams and how I can see them finishing out. Right now, the Patriots are sitting as the number 1 seed. They currently have home field advantage in the playoffs. The Ravens are sitting at the 2nd seed, so they currently do have a first-round bye. The Texans are sitting at a 7-4 record with the 3rd seed, and then the 4th seed is the Chiefs. They're sitting at a 7-4 record. The Bills have the top wild card spot right now. They have an 8-3 record. And then the Steelers are sitting there at the final wild card spot. They're sitting there with that 6-5 record. And then the teams that I got in the hunt right now, the Raiders, the Colts, and the Titans with their 6-5 record. And then I got the Browns at 5-6. Any of the other teams I really don't think have a shot to make the playoffs this year. And if you prove me wrong, come at me, Keenan Allen or anybody on the Chargers. Or because you're probably the only team below a 5-win record that I could maybe see somehow squeezing it out. So I'm going to go by game. Basically, I got the rest of the team's schedule. And so I'm going to give like a final record and a win. So starting with the Patriots, and this will kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone when I give out these wins. But their game this week is against the Texans. I'm going to say the Patriots do win that one. So I'm going to go more. I'm not going to go really quick. I'm not going to go in depth why I think teams win. I'm going to kind of breeze past this section because obviously things will change. And then if you guys have been longtime listeners of the show, on my Friday episodes, I'm going to go into depth on how I think the teams could win. And who knows, maybe some information changes and I might think differently about these Sunday games by Friday. Then they go against the Chiefs. I'm going to give them an L against the Chiefs. They got the Bengals, so I'm going to give them a win over the Bengals. They faced the Bills. Now, they beat the Bills earlier this season. I think the Bills are good enough to split the series with the Patriots this year. So I'm going to give actually the Bills the win. So I'm giving the Patriots a loss there. And then they wrap up the season against the Dolphins. So I'm going to give them a win there. So that means they got 2 losses. They got 3 wins. So I have the Patriots currently finishing with a 13-3 record. And then I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Ravens schedule. So if you guys go back to tonight, I already gave them a win. So I'm going to assume they win tonight and they go 9-2. And by the way, even if they win or they lose tonight, it does not affect their playoff positioning at all. So I'm going to give them a win against the Rams tonight. And then again, they got the Niners next week. I might have a different feel on Friday and about this matchup. Man, that's hard to predict, right? I'm going to give the Ravens a win against the 49ers. And then I'll say, they got the Bills. They got a little tough stretch after this week. I'll say they give all their effort into the Niners win and they lose to the Bills. And I can see those switching. I think between the 49ers and Bills games, they split that one. They somehow go 1-1. I'll say they beat the Jets. They beat the Browns. And then because the Browns beat them earlier, so they don't want to lose and get swept by the Browns. And then I'll say they beat the Steelers. So I have the Ravens actually now finishing with a 13-3 record. They have the tiebreaker over the Patriots. So in this scenario, that means the Patriots would actually go down to the 2 seed and the Ravens would finish with the 1 seed. And then I'm going to the 3rd seed, the Texans. So I already gave them a loss to the Patriots. Then they got the Broncos, so I'm gonna say they beat the Broncos, and then they got the Titans. Now I think they're actually gonna split the series with the Titans. So I'll give them this. I'll give them a loss here because the Titans might have more to play for at this point. And then I'll say they beat the Bucks, but then I'll say they beat the Titans at the end of the season. So they're sitting at a 7-4 record. That would be 2 losses with 3 wins. So I have the Texans finishing with a 10-6 record. And then the Chiefs' remaining schedule. And I'm, by the way, guys, bear with me. I am doing this live with you. I didn't do this before. I wanted to do this live on the pod with you. And then, well, technically you're listening to it, but it's live while I'm doing it, right? And then the Chiefs sitting at a 7-4 record. I'm gonna say they beat the Raiders. I'm going to say I already said they beat the Patriots, so I'm gonna give them a win there. I say they beat the Broncos. I see they beat the Bears. You know what? I say they beat the Chargers too. Do I say that? Yeah, I say that because they'll be at home against KC. So I think KC finish on a win streak, and they got teams worried about them. That's 5 straight wins, so they'll finish with a 12-4 record and finishing, and they'll be at the 3rd seed. Definitely could see that happening. And then the Bills. So they got the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Yeah, I understand that. Rob just said they haven't beat a winning team, but I am going to pick the Cowboys to win this one because it's Thanksgiving. They're at home. And Bills haven't been that great against winning teams too, by the way. So I'm gonna say they lose to the Cowboys. So Cowboys do. I think the Cowboys bounce back. I said they would lose to the No, I said the Ravens would beat the Ravens. So I'll give them a W. I think they beat the Steelers. I think they beat the Patriots, and I think they beat the Jets. So they would finish. I have them finishing with a 12-4 record, but the Patriots would have a 1-game lead over them still. So in this scenario, they would finish as a top wild card team. It's a strong. I mean, I could still see the Bills finishing like 10-6, but I like I said, I gave them the win over the Ravens. I think they'll beat the Steelers. I think they'll beat the Patriots the second time matchup, and I think they handle the Jets to end the season. Now going to the Steelers. I definitely think that they're going to lose to the Browns this week. I think they lose to the Browns. They got the Cardinals, so I'll give them a win there. Even though I think the Cardinals could beat them. I'm giving them a loss to the Bills. Ooh, the Jets. I talked about this earlier on one pod this season where I said how funny would it be if Le'Veon Bell could end the Steelers' playoff chances at the end of the season. It'll be very interesting to see where they stand when they face the Jets. But the Jets are playing well. I'll give them a win. Screw it. I'll give them a win over the Jets. And then I would not be surprised if the Jets could beat them too. But I'll give them the L because I already gave them the L to the Ravens. So that's 3 losses with 2 wins. So I got the Steelers finishing at an 8-8 record. So basically, before I go to the teams in the hunt, I would have the Ravens finishing as the 1st seed, the Patriots finishing as the 2nd seed, Chiefs would be as the 3rd seed. Currently, the Texans would finish as the 4th seed at 10-6. And then the Bills would be at the 5th seed with a 12-4 record. So now the Steelers are the only teams that are in question as I go through these teams in the hunt would be the Steelers because they're sitting right now at the state with an 8-8 record in the 6th seed, and then technically the Titans, depending on how these matchups go with the Colts and Titans, Texans, and Colts or Titans could switch in spots, or we'll see. Let me go ahead and play this out. So the Raiders, I'm gonna start with them. I already gave them the loss to the Chiefs against the Titans. The Titans should be able to beat them. I'll give them a win again. I'll give them a loss against the Titans. They'll beat the Jaguars. I'll give them a win over the Chargers and a win over the Broncos. So I got the Raiders actually finishing with an 8-8 record. And they're right now tied with the Steelers. So that means the Raiders would miss the playoffs, but they'll give something a lot of people to talk about, finishing 500. And then the Colts, let's see here. So Colts and Titans play this weekend. anybody knows, the Colts actually dominate the series. They beat them earlier this season. They're playing differently. I'll give my feel on Sunday, but the Colts are at home this time around. So I'm going to give the Colts a win. So I'm going to give the Colts a win against the Titans. I'll give them a win against the Bucks. I'll have them drop against the Saints. Against the Panthers, I think they should be able to beat the Panthers. And then I'll give them a win against the Jaguars. It's December football. You want to run the ball, right? And that's what they can do and play defense. So I actually have the Colts finishing with a 10-6 record. I don't know if they would replace them. I should have maybe pulled up the tiebreakers, but because the Colts split the series with the Texans. But if it finishes out like this, the Colts would actually have a better divisional record than the Texans. So I think in a scenario where the Colts and Texans tie at the end of the season, I think the Colts would have an advantage over them. Of course, it depends on how they would tie and all that. And then with the Titans, so I already gave them a loss to the Colts. And then I gave them a win against the Raiders. I gave them a win earlier, too, against the Texans. Now, I'll say they lose to the Saints, and then they lose to the Texans at the end of the year. So I got them finishing with what I've always said about the Titans. I feel like they're a 9-7, 8-8 type team. So I got them finishing 8-8. Now let's see what happens with these Browns. The Browns would have to finish somehow with a 10-6 record. So I got them winning against the Steelers. They'll play the Bengals. So I got them winning against the Bengals. I could see them losing against the Cardinals, but I'll give them a win against the Cardinals. I already gave them an L against the Ravens, and I'll give them a win against the Bengals. So the Browns would be a 9-7 record. So how this would work out is, in this scenario, my prediction comes true. You would have the Ravens at a 13-3 record with the number 1 seed, home field advantage in the AFC. You would have the Patriots with also a 13-3 record with a first round bye at the 2nd seed. Now the Chiefs would be a 12-4 team, so they would have the 3rd seed. And then my problem is right now is in this scenario, I know for a fact if this scenario played out like this, the Colts would be the 4th seed. But there could be a scenario too where the Texans and Colts tie and somehow the Texans get the division over that. But in this scenario, because the Colts would have a better divisional record compared to the Texans, the Colts would actually be the 4th seed. Bills would be the 5th seed, and then the Texans would come in as the 6th seed. So in this scenario, it would be the Texans and Chiefs in the wild card game, and it would be the Bills and the Colts in the wild card. Definitely could see this happening. And honestly, that's what I said at the halfway point of the year. I felt like these were the 6 AFC teams that would make the playoffs, but I can't wait to see how this final stretch runs for all of the teams. So now I'm going to go into the NFC side. Just like I did the AFC, I'm going to go division by division, then look at the current playoff picture, and then go over the schedules on where I think that plays out, even though I think the current playoff picture is going to stay where it is. So let's go ahead and get into this. NFC East right now, Cowboys are sitting at a 6-5 record, and the Eagles are sitting at a 5-6 record. I really don't like either of those teams right now and their chances in the playoffs. But the Eagles they look that much worse than the Cowboys do. So I think the Cowboys are going to end up winning this division. We'll see how my predictions go out once I go through their schedule. Same thing with the Eagles. Who knows? Maybe they find a way to sneak in. But I don't think either team will do much at this point, which is sad because the Eagles were my Super Bowl pick entering the season. This couldn't get things together. Giants are sitting at a 2-9 record. Redskins are sitting at a 2-9 record. Basically, both those teams are in competition to out-tank each other and try to get Chase Young in the draft. So both those teams are probably going to finish with either anywhere between a 2-14 record to a maybe at best 4-12 record. I could see the Giants getting to 4-12. I could also see the Redskins not winning a game for the rest of the season. And then the NFC North, Packers and Vikings are right now sitting at an 8-3 record. Packers currently have the tie advantage over the Vikings because they beat them earlier this season. So I think the North does come down to both those teams, and it's going to come down to their matchup later on in the year. And that's in Minnesota. So a little spoiler alert, it's in Minnesota. Yeah, I'm going to have them split the series. So I think the Vikings do win that one, but we'll see how they do in the other games. And then the Bears are sitting at a 5-6 record. I think Bears at best finish 8-8 to finish the season. And then the Lions are sitting at 3-7-1. They're basically going to be picking top 10. They need to go ahead and shut down Stafford. Their season's over with, so I have no expectations for them. So looking at the NFC South, the Saints are sitting at a 9-2 record. They basically have the barring a utter collapse, they have the NFC South wrapped up. Actually, it came out last night where if they beat the Falcons, which I'm going to spoiler alert, I'm going to pick them to beat the Falcons on Thanksgiving. So they win the division. They win on Thursday, and then Bucks are sitting at a 4-7 record. And there's going to be a team that can beat the bad teams, beat the mediocre teams, be competitive against the good teams, but usually they find ways to lose games. So I have no expectations for them to finish strong. Oh, and thanks, Rob. I did skip the Panthers. Yeah, they're sitting at 5-6 just because I think their season's done. Panthers are 5-6. They're a team that's going to be competitive. They took it to the Saints yesterday. It was a divisional matchup, but it kind of feels like they kind of lost their luster over the last few weeks. So I really don't have high expectations for them. But with that being said, I mean, I don't feel like when I go through their schedule prediction, I'm going to have them at this record. But I can see them still finishing at a 9-7 record. But they seem more like a 7-9 or 8-8 team to me at this point. Falcons sitting at 3-8. They showed who they really were yesterday against the Bucks. So they're a team that's going to maybe finish 5-11 at best. And then I'm going to go ahead and look at the NFC West. NFC West, 49ers sitting at 10-1. I'm not going to lie, I was completely impressed about from their utter domination last night over the Packers. Totally did not see that coming. Yes, I do have questions that Jimmy's going to get it done. But yeah, they're a team that, I don't know. They're either going to win the West and have a first-round bye, or they're going to find a way to lose the West to the Seahawks, and they're going to be the 5th team with a record in the wild card. Either way, they're a playoff team this year. Same thing with the Seahawks, sitting at a 9-2 record. All Russell Wilson does is win games. They're going to probably be in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see how this NFC West plays out. And then Rob's Rams are sitting at a 6-4 record. I think at this point, Rob, sorry, bud, your team could definitely make the playoffs if you were in the AFC. But unfortunately, you just find yourself in the wrong conference that's playing out of their minds this year. Or, I mean, to be fair, Rob, if you're in the NFC East, your Rams could win the NFC East. Here's what I'll say. I could see the Rams finishing with a better record than the Cowboys and Eagles, and they still miss the playoffs. But the one of those teams are in just because they are in the wrong division this year. And then the Cardinals are sitting at a 3-7 record. I think the Cardinals are going to be one of those teams that can play spoiler throughout the season, and they might beat some of these teams that are in the playoff hunt. Like I was kind of talking about over in the AFC side, there's some teams over there I think they could beat that they have coming up in the next couple of weeks. They're not going to be an easy out, I feel like. I feel like they're going to take it to teams in this final stretch and kind of try to enter next year with some momentum. So, yeah, I'm going to go look at the playoff picture right now. As of right now, the playoff picture is the 49ers are sitting at the 1 seed. The Saints are sitting at the 2 seed. The Packers are sitting at the 3rd seed. The Cowboys are currently sitting at the 4th seed. Seahawks are sitting at the 5th seed, and the Vikings are sitting at the 6th seed. So right now, wild card weekend, the Packers and Vikings would face off on wild card weekend. The Cowboys and Seahawks would face off on wild card weekend. And then teams in the hunt are the Rams. Now, even if the Rams win tonight, it doesn't affect where they stand. They're still on the outside looking in. Bears are still technically in the playoff race, as well as the Eagles and the Panthers with their 5-6 record. But I'm really interested to see how this all plays out when I go through the schedule. But I really think the current 6 NFC teams that are currently in the playoffs are going to be the teams that we see. I'm going to go ahead and go through this 49ers schedule. So I gave the 49ers a loss to the Ravens earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the loss. And then I think they go to the Saints. I think the Saints can beat them. So I have them dropping 2 games off the bat after this week, which is like, how could you do that after they dominated the Packers? Sorry, I've still got some low expectations for the Niners. And then I'll give them the win against the Falcons. Sorry, Rob, I'm going to have to give them the win over your Rams. But I could see the Rams beating them. Let me say that. I could see it. Let's see where I stand in 4 weeks. And then the Seahawks, they'll split the series with the Seahawks. So, yeah, I'll give them a win, even though I definitely could see the Seahawks winning that. I'll have them win the final 3 games. So they still finished with a 13-3 record. Don't come kill me, 49ers fans. All right, so then the Saints, I already predicted they'll beat the Falcons, so I'll give them a win. I already gave them a win over the Niners. I already gave them a win over my Colts. I already gave them a win over the Titans. And shoot, I'm going to go ahead and give them the win over the Panthers. I got the Saints. Wow. That doesn't feel right. I feel like they might drop a game here and there. You know what? I'll give them a loss against the Panthers just because I don't feel right putting them at a 14-2 record. And then they could drop any of those other games, right? I feel more comfortable putting them at a 13-3 record. Could see them. Obviously, you just saw me do it. I could see them finishing 14-2, but I'll give them a 13-3 record. But they would have the tiebreaker in this scenario because they would beat the Niners and they would have home field advantage. Now going through the Packers schedule, Packers kind of got a light schedule for them. They got the Giants, that's a win. Redskins, that's a win. Bears, that's a win. Already spoiled. They got the Vikings, so I'm gonna give them a loss to the Vikings, and then a win over the Lions. So I got the Packers finishing with a 12-4 record. Now I'm gonna go to the Cowboys schedule. They got the Bills, which I already gave them a win over the Bills. They got the Bears. I'll give them a win. I already said I think the Rams would be able to win their division, so I'm going to actually have them drop the game against the Rams. Ooh, against the Eagles. Ooh. I'm going to say they split the series. I don't know why I say they split the series. I'm going to say the Cowboys lose to the Eagles, and then they win against the Redskins. So if this happens, the Cowboys would finish at a 9-7 record. Now, the Seahawks got the Vikings on Monday night. I actually cannot wait for that game. The Seahawks are at home, so I lean towards the Seahawks. So I'm going to give them a win against the Vikings. I already gave them a win against the gosh, you guys, the NFC West is so hard to pick, but sorry, Robbie, your Rams are just too inconsistent for me to trust in this quick pick 'em. We'll see where they stand next week. You know, injuries and stuff happens. Win over the Rams. I'll have them beat the Panthers. And then have them beat the Cardinals, and then I'll have them drop that final game to the Niners. And they finish with a 13-3 record. Dang. Man, I don't know how this would play out in this scenario. I don't know if they would technically have well, if they lose to the Niners, I'll say they still stay at the 5th seed. So with the Vikings, I already gave them a loss to the Seahawks. I'll give them a win against the Lions, a win against the Chargers. I gave them a win against the Packers and a win against the Bears. So in this scenario, they would go 12-4. So let's see here. So 13-3 Niners. I'll have them stand. Okay. So in this scenario, Saints would be 1st seed because I gave them the win over the Niners. So Saints would be the 1st seed. I don't really know how the tiebreaker would work out, but since I had the Niners beat the Seahawks in that last game, I'm going to give them the slight edge in this for this scenario. So I would say the 49ers finish with the 13-3 record and have the 2nd seed. And then I think the Cowboys, well, we'll have to see. They're currently at a 9-7 record. Then that means the Seahawks would be locked in at the 5th seed. And then in this scenario, the Vikings and Packers are tied. I think the Vikings would actually have I'll just leave it as it is for now. I would say the Packers finish as the 3rd seed and the Vikings are the 6th seed. I'm not sure if they would swap. So there's some interesting scenarios. Maybe I should have knew the tiebreakers a lot better. Didn't see these playing out. Now let's see how the end the hunt teams play out. So I already gave a loss to the Ravens for the Rams. I'll give them a win over the Cardinals. I'll give them a loss against the Seahawks, win over the Cowboys, loss against the Niners, and a win over the Cardinals. So I actually have the Rams finishing at a 9-7 record, which seems right, and so they would actually be out of the playoffs automatically. Most of these teams are actually out of the playoffs. So in this scenario, I don't even need to do the Bears, guys, because the Bears would be out of the playoffs already because they already have 6 losses. And then honestly, I don't need to do the Panthers either because they would be out of the playoffs because they have 6 losses. So realistically, those teams got to have a lot of these teams drop the ball. And then Rob is typing up some for Seahawks or Niners. A loss to the Rams loses the division. Oh, okay. Did they lose earlier? Oh, that's how it would play it. Okay. Oh, that would be their only division. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, we got some interesting things I'll have to play out on that. Sorry guys, I was trying to make sense of that. And then so what I'm going to do though is I'm just going to go through the Eagles schedule and see if that makes a tie with the Cowboys. So they got the Dolphins this week, so I'm going to say a win there. I think they could beat the Giants, so that's a win. A Redskins, that's a win. A win against the Cowboys. This scenario somehow and a win against the Giants. So in this scenario, I got the Eagles squeezing in the playoffs over the Cowboys. And if anybody listened to the Jerry Jones's comments last night, it seems like Jason Garrett's on his way out. So I could definitely see the scenario playing out. So in this scenario, it would be the Saints at first seed, 49ers at second seed. I'm just going to stick it with that. Packers at third seed. And then Eagles at fourth seed, Seahawks at the fifth seed, and the Vikings at the sixth seed. So no matter how this would play out, even if the Vikings were the third seed and the Packers were the sixth seed, they would still play each other. It's just a matter of who's at home. So in this scenario, the Vikings and Packers would face off in the wild card position, and then the Seahawks and Eagles would face off and wild card, or it could be the Cowboys. But in this scenario, I got the Eagles making the playoffs. Wow, I honestly did not see that coming. I didn't realize how weak the schedule is for the Eagles. So who knows what happens, guys? I cannot wait though to see this final stretch. We're in that final push for the playoffs, and I'm really interested to see if I'm wrong on any of these. I mean, I really do believe. See, the thing is, it's hard for me to buy in the Eagles, even though I just predicted the Eagles to win. I definitely think even though I just went through the schedule and I predicted the Eagles to win, I still think the 6 playoff teams in the NFC are going to be. I'm not sure how the order is going to play out. I still think it's going to be the Niners, Saints, Packers, Vikings, Cowboys, and Seahawks. I think it's going to be those teams. I don't know. I just can't trust the Eagles, but looking at that schedule and the talent on that team and that talent on that coaching staff, they should actually be able to win those games. Now, the one thing that I could see going wrong is they actually get swept by the Cowboys, and that's how they miss the playoffs. So that's probably what's going to happen, but I honestly think they could split the series, and that's why I picked that way. And then the AFC side, I mean, I really do believe that the playoff teams will be obviously the Chiefs, Patriots, Ravens. I think the Colts, Texans, and the Bills. I really think that will be a playoff team. I just think the Colts right now, with them outside looking in, they're the best built for December football when you want to play defense and run the ball. We'll see though. We'll see. I could see that maybe the Titans squeezing in there. I just don't see the Steelers or Raiders making it. I just don't. Oh, I guess I could hypothetically too. I could see the Browns going on a run and making it into the playoffs just because of their offense. I've already kind of gave predictions on most of the games. We have the 3 Thanksgiving games. The first game of the day is the Bears versus the Lions. Really not much on the line outside maybe the Bears keeping their playoff hopes alive. Like I said, I think they're going to finish maybe with a 7-9, 8-8 record. I'm going to pick the Bears in this matchup just because I don't trust the Lions offense right now or that team in general without Matthew Stafford. More than likely, Stafford's going to be out this week, so I'm going to take the Bears in that matchup. I've already talked about it. Bills and Cowboys. I actually cannot wait for this game. I know I picked the Cowboys to win this game just because they're at home. They just lost on the road to the Patriots. It just seems like it's their bounce back, not necessarily a get right team to play the Bills, but get back on track, I guess, type of game. So that's why I lean towards the Cowboys. They are at home, but I think the Bills have what it takes to go in there and take a win too. I think it's going to come down to a field goal. I think if you got a chance to if you're going to sit down for any of these games, try to see if the family doesn't eat around this game, or make sure there's a TV by your table. Sorry, you guys got a little spit caught in the throat right there. Make sure you got TV by the table during this game because I think it's going to be a really good game. This is a chance for Josh Allen to actually put together a great game on primetime television when everybody's watching. Want to see him do that. Definitely could see the Bills winning, but I lean towards the Cowboys because they are at home. And they got the tradition down of playing on Thanksgiving. And then the night game on Thursday night, which I don't blame you if you want to go do some Black Friday shopping or go out and about with the family during this game. Saints versus Falcons. I know the Falcons beat up on them and upset them 2 weeks ago. That's exactly why I think this game can be missable, is because I think the Saints are going to hammer it to the Falcons. Are going to be pissed off that they lost to them last time they faced them. Plus, like I said, they win, they lock up the NFC South this week. So Saints by a mile in this game. All right, guys, I'm going to just end this with the Rob question of the day. It feels like to me for the first time in a long time that the list of teams that could just win a ring is more than just 2 or 3 teams. With that being said, how many teams do you think have a legitimate shot to win the title this season? I'm going to start with the NFC. I agree, Rob. There's a lot of teams I feel like that all it takes is just to go on a run. And the NFC, I got to be honest, because their defense is good and they run the ball. 49ers. The Saints. I still think the Packers, just because of Aaron Rodgers, if they can get the run game back on track and that defense can somehow play like they did earlier in the season, they could go on a run. I don't think the Cowboys or Eagles, whoever comes out in the NFC, I don't think that at all. I think the Vikings could go on a run. They got the run game. Kirk Cousins playing out of his mind. That defense is playing out of their mind. Their biggest key is they got to somehow at least get a first round bye. They got to play more home games because they play terrible when they're on the road and outdoor conditioning. So I think they're going to be watching for those Niners to hopefully drop some of these tough games. So maybe they can pile up wins and try to get a first round bye, maybe home field advantage. That's their best shot to win it all. But I definitely think the Vikings and the Seahawks. I mean, Russell Wilson's playing at MVP type level. So the Seahawks. So I basically, any of those teams that I already said I think are a lock for the NFC playoffs outside the NFC East, I think could win the title this year. AFC, I don't trust their offense to do so, but at the end of the day, it's the damn Patriots, and the offense will click when it matters in the playoffs. So Patriots, I cannot ignore their defense and special teams and the fact that they've been there before, and anytime people want to doubt them, they usually start to win a lot of games. And then Ravens got a run defense. Their defense is playing a lot better. So I think the Ravens are a threat. The Chiefs are a threat. Like I just predicted them to win the rest of their games to end the season. So if that happens, they're going to enter with a lot of momentum. And then other than that, I think that's just really the teams from the AFC. I don't think the Texans have a defense to get the job done in the playoffs, or even possibly the rest of the season. Their defense is just too banged up. At some point, they're going to be offenses that are going to move the ball. Colts just continue to get banged up. I think if they make it to the playoffs, they'll probably be done by the second round. There's just too many injuries on that team. But at the end of the day, they have a defense and they rely on the run game, so that could help them go on a push. I just don't think they're ready to win a title yet. They still need some bigger threats on the offense. So maybe the Bills are a weird team, right? Like I want to say they could maybe. The Bills are a team where I think they could get to the AFC Conference Championship and make noise, right? They could get out of the wild card, upset the first or second team on the road, and then they lose to like the Chiefs or the Ravens or like the Patriots in the AFC Championship. That's how I could see the Bill season going. So from the AFC, if I had to pick a legitimate shot, Chiefs, Ravens, and Patriots. And then if I'm going ahead and heading there, why don't I just make a prediction? Actually, I don't want to. I can't. It's too hard. It's too hard for me to think upon because I really think all of those teams could win the Super Bowl this year, and I need to see how the playoffs format. So yeah, and that's the episode. In about 4 weeks, guys, I'll have an update for you. I'm actually going to kind of do it the same way how I did it after week 16. And then after week 16, we will obviously dwindle down the playoff teams, and there will be actually legit scenarios where it wouldn't be that Monday episode, but that Friday episode, I could have like scenarios on like if they win this game, blah, 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 who gets in what. We'll see then. Other than that, if you like what you heard today, please hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Check us out at the Blitzalytics Podcast Network. If you're listening to this on YouTube, we have a bunch of podcasts on there: Blitz Breakdown, Pick Six, XFL Files, our Fantasy Football Hot Seat podcast. We only got a few weeks to go. Me and Rob have been killing it with our starts and sits. So if you need help, please go tune into that. If you have any money to give this year, though, please go check out the Blitzalytics All Heart Charity League. There's 10 different leagues for 10 different charities. They're in that final stretch, too, of just trying to raise money for great causes. And also, too, if you're looking for some stocking stuffers or, a gift for somebody, go check out our store. Go to blitzalytics.com, hit the store button. Tons of Blitzalytics apparel, not only just Blitzalytics apparel, there's tons of different types of T-shirts and graphic work by Rob. He's a jack of all trades. Please go check out his artwork. And if you have an idea of maybe some artwork that you'd want to get somebody, reach out to him at Rob Graphics. He can come up with something for you. I'm telling you, it's grade A quality work. Other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll see you Friday. Enjoy your week and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you for watching Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, hit that like and subscribe button, and then hit that bell notification icon to stay up to date on all things football.